Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom. Today we're going to focus on something very, 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 very significant. Something that like in your ruach, you have a sense of something, but you can't pinpoint it where. It's like that. You have a sense of something, but couldn't pinpoint it where in the scriptures until I read it in Ibri. Okay, so apologize, my glasses are a little dirty. Let us pray. Abba Yahuwah, Toda Rabbah, for this blessed day that you've given us. Just pray, Heavenly Father, that as I read your word and speak on the who is HaSatan, that you will reveal the truth regarding his nature so that we can be aware of the enemy's devices, because the enemy's devices is based off of his nature. So let us learn of you through the Ruach HaKodesh. Anoint this teaching, anoint my mouth, my mind, my heart, that I may speak forth in truth and in love. And I just pray, Heavenly Father, that you will be glorified in it and bless everybody. Give multiple barakot to everybody who listens to this message. B'Shem Yehoshua HaMashiach HaNazari. Amen. Okay, so who is Satan? Ezekiel chapter 28, verses 12 through 19. I'm going to read that. I'm going to read it to you from the Geneva. I'm using the Geneva and the Geneva Bible. This is what I'm using right here. I have this marked off because there's something over there I don't like, but anyway, $15.99. And from there, I'm going to go into Ibri. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're focusing on Ezekiel chapter 28. We're going to start at verse 11 through 19. Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 11 through 19. Okay. So I'm going to read from there, and then I'm going to read from some of the verses in Ibri, and I'm going to break it down. You know how we go. We do it the Reggie White style. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do this again. So I'm going to read from Ezekiel chapter 28, starting at verse 11 through 19. From the Geneva Bible. As I mentioned before, I'm reading from the Geneva Bible. Okay. Then $15.99. Moreover, the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyre, and say unto him, Thus says Adonai Yahuwah, you seal up the sum and are full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was in your garment, the ruby, the topaz, the diamond, the chrysolite, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, emerald, and carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of your timbrels and of your pipes was prepared in you in the day that you were created. You are the anointed cherub that covers, and I have set you, though, I have set you. You were upon the holy mountain of Elohim. You have walked in the midst of the stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways from the day that you were created, till iniquity was found in you. By the multitude of your merchandise, they have filled the midst of you with cruelty, and you have sinned. Therefore, I will cast you as profane out of the mountain of Elohim, and I will destroy you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty, and you have corrupted your wisdom by reason of your brightness. Actually, it could be beauty as well again. I will cast you to the ground, and we'll go into more detail about as to what that word actually is in Hebrew. I will lay you before kings that they may behold you. You have defiled your sanctification by the multitude of your iniquities, by the iniquity of your merchandise. Therefore, I will bring forth a fire from the midst of you, which shall devour you, and I will bring you to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold you. And all they that know you among the people shall be astonished at you. You shall be a terror, and never shall you be any more. Now, if you know about the history of Tyre, of Zor, that's in Ibri, the word for Tyre, or the city of Tyre, is Zor. It became a city that became no more. But here is putting a lamentation out upon the king of Tyre, the king of Zor. Now, obviously, it says in this text that this, given the lamentation for the king of Zor, that he was a covering cherub in the garden, okay, in Eden, the garden of Elohim. So we know that how could any king of Zor naturally be in Eden, okay, unless we're talking about HaSatan himself. Now, in the spiritual realm, there are principalities and powers that rule over different regions, provinces, countries, states, cities, and towns in the spiritual realm. There are certain principalities and powers that like to rule over certain areas. And here we see that HaSatan is essentially trying to rule as king of Tyre in this particular text, starting in verse 12. Now, I'm going to just state one thing. The reason why, and I had to meditate on this for a moment, but it's very simple explanation. Why would this text go into talking about essentially HaSatan? Because HaSatan was an anointed cherub. He was a guardian cherub, okay? We'll go into details of what he had, and we're going to go into the Hebrew. But why would he want to be king of Tyre? Okay, for those of you who have been following this channel for a while, if you take a moment to meditate, you'll probably understand very easily why he set himself up as king of Tyre, king of Zor. Okay, for those of you all who are new to this channel, if you take the time to go through the videos about the tribe of the bride and about the bride price and those videos, you will understand what I'm going to say. So I'm saying that as a disclaimer because some people who are new to this channel might say, I don't know what she's talking about, or she don't know what she's talking about. You need to go back because I list a lot of scriptures to give credence and evidence based on the word in Ibri to let you know, to identify the tribe of the bride, okay, is based off of the brotherly covenant. I'm just going to give you a brief summary. It's based off of the brotherly covenant between King Hiram of Zor, of Tyre, and King Shlomo. Okay, you see that in, I think it's First Kings. They made a brotherly covenant. King Hiram of Zor was very critical and pivotal to building the temple, the first temple, the Solomon's temple. He was pivotal in that. He gave his all. He gave 2 decades of his life to help build the temple and King Solomon's palaces. He also built King David's palaces. And because of this relationship between King David and King Shlomo, because he had a relationship between them both, there was a brotherly covenant established between those two. And that brotherly covenant also establishes that they would, this is a covenant. They're saying we're family. So if you have a covenant from one family to another family, they're pretty much making a covenant that they're going to be peaceable with each other and they're going to marry into each other's family. So that means King David's descendants would marry King Hiram's descendants, and King Hiram's descendants would marry King David's descendants. And that's what the agreement was on, because of this relationship of King Hiram wanting to absorb to build Yah's kingdom. And as I showed you, that King Hiram of Zor is actually of the tribe of Naphtali of Israel. Okay, so he's actually if you look at I think Judges or Yehoshua, the book of Joshua, you'll see that the region of Israel will go as far as Zidon. Okay, so Tyre was actually a part of a dwelling place of Israel. Okay, even though it was initially a Canaanite, they say, aka a Phoenician town. But just to give you some background, Okay, this is Satan wanted to make himself king of Zor because he knew that the bride would come out of this lineage of King Hiram, who was of Zor, and so he wanted to, I guess, probably essentially stop the promises, stop the prophecy from happening um, regarding the tribe of the bride, as I mentioned. Um, and other people have said, the bride is of the tribe of Yehuda, and I've shown you that on her father's side, that could not be the case, because even Psalm 45 talks about, forget your own people and your father's house. Okay, nothing was mentioned about forgetting her mother's house, but forget your father's house. So obviously, we know that Yehoshua is of the tribe of Yehuda, so there's no way that on her father's side, she could be of the tribe of Yehuda. All right. So anyway, I just want to lay context as to the spiritual implications behind this, why this is referring to HaSatan. Okay, so HaSatan has made himself king of Tyre, king of Zor, essentially in the spiritual realm, because he wants to stop the Messiah from having his bride. Because if he can't have his bride, he can't establish his kingdom. A king must have a queen. Okay, so he's trying to set up this station here, and so here's a lamentation that's sent up to him. Okay, um, obviously it talks about this cherub. Obviously, it doesn't mention him by name because it's just a disgrace to even mention his real name. That's why we call him HaSatan, which, like, I think it means like the rebel. Okay, um, so when he talks about, you are full of wisdom, perfect in beauty, you were in the Garden of Eden. Essentially, you were in Eden, the Garden of Elohim. One thing that this cherub Hasatan had before he fell, he had precious stones, okay, on him. And his ministry, okay, I'm going to go through this. His ministry had to deal with music, tambourines, which are like hand drums, and with pipes. So the pipes are not musical instruments. The pipes are just sockets where you put gems in. Okay, so he was responsible for setting gems, for jewelry work. Okay, the two main things that Hasatan was given as, in addition to being a anointed guardian cherub, was that he was responsible. His ministry or his business occupation was about over music and over jewelry. Okay, this is why this is why I've stressed, before, about with jewelry. Okay, these are things we have to be careful of, because Hasatan, this is one of his areas that he's an expert in, as well as music. And to this day, we see this use of music and jewelry being used. And this is one of his things that he was assigned as his ministry before he fell. Okay, so let's look at some key points here. I'm going to read the Ibri here. Okay, let's look at verse 13 first. Be Edan, Gan, Elohim, Hai Yitha, Kal, Abain, Yi, Kwara, Me Suka Theka, O Dem, Pith Da, Weya Halom, Tar Shish. It sounds like Tarshish, right? Tarshish, that's Biro. Tarshish. Shoham, We, Yash, Pei, Saphir, no, of course that's Sapphire, no Fane, no, I'm sorry, no Fik, or no Fek, Ubar, Quat, We Zahab, Me, Lek, Keth, Tu, Peka, U, Ne, Kwa, Beka, Bak, Beyom, Hi, Bara'aka, Konanu. Okay. So from the Ibri, it would be like Eden, Garden of Elohim, you were. Um, all stones, and it mentions the stones. Okay. It's actually 10 stones. If you count here, it's actually 10 stones that he had on him. Okay, not 12, he had 10. Okay. Um, the word for workmanship is Strong's um, 4399, and it's me le keth, which actually means occupation, business, ministry, service, or use. So his occupation, his ministry was for music and for jewelry work. Okay, so the word for the tambourines or cymbals was thu feka, and for settings or sockets that we use for setting a gem, in a ring or necklace or anything. The word is ne qua beka. Okay. Now, all of this, when it says ha yi sa, you were, that is masculine singular. Where you see talks about your tambourines or your cymbals and your pipes, that is masculine singular. So when he's addressed that you were in Eden, the Garden of Elohim, it is masculine singular. You, man, you masculine singular, okay, were in Eden, the Garden of Elohim. But pay attention to this. In that same verse where it says in you, okay, these things were set in you. The word is bak, which is feminine singular. So here we see the first time that the cherub, who is now we know as HaSatan, has a feminine, he's being classified as feminine. Okay. The other times he's being addressed as masculine singular. And in this, when it talks about his ministry of the tambourines and the settings of, for jewelry, in the day that you were created, well, when it's said in him, it's masculine. Sorry, when it's said in him is feminine singular, and then when it says in the day you were created, it's masculine singular. So here, out of all this, you this and you that, and in you, you were the day you were created. Those are masculine singular, and Bach in you is masculine. I mean, sorry, in you is feminine singular. Okay, let me say that again. In you, when it says in you, it's feminine singular. This is the first time we see HaSatan being addressed in a feminine context. Let's move on to verse 14 because verse 14 will blow this out the water. Okay. Verse 14. Okay, in Ibri. Ase karib mi mesha haso cake une sathika behar kodesh Elohim hayitha betok abne esh heat halak. Okay. Now, when it says that you are an anointed cherub, the word for you are is feminine singular. You, feminine, you are a anointed guardian cherub. That's what it really says in the Hebrew. You are anointed guardian cherub, but you, feminine, it's like saying you, female, are anointed guardian cherub. So here we see him being addressed as a female. And the text keeps going on. When it says, I have set you, that's masculine singular. In the holy mountain of Elohim, you were, that's masculine singular. You were masculine singular in the midst of the stones of fire. And you walked about, that's masculine singular. But the first you here in verse 14 addresses him as a female. Okay, let's look at the next one. verse 15. And really it would read like this. I'm sorry. Let me read it together. You, feminine singular, are the anointed cherub that covereth. And I placed you, masculine singular, you, masculine singular, were on the mountain, the Kadosh mountain of Elohim. You, masculine singular, walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Okay. Now let's go to the next verse that we see this shifting again, where we see masculine singular and feminine singular being used. Okay. Tamim, ata, bid, ra, keka, miyom, hi, barak, ad, nim, za, au, la, tha, bak. Okay. Now there are two places where feminine singular is used in this verse 15, referring to HaSatan's original state. Okay, so when it says perfect you are, that's masculine singular. You are perfect, or you were perfect. Okay, you are perfect in your ways, your masculine singular ways, from the day that you were, you here is feminine singular, from the day that you were created, feminine singular, till iniquity or unrighteousness or wickedness or evil was found in you. In you is the last, in you is feminine singular. So it will read, you, masculine singular, are perfect in your ways, masculine singular, from the day you, feminine singular, were created, till iniquity was found in you, feminine singular. So here we see evil coming into him, but he's being addressed feminine singular. The day he was created, he was feminine singular. Okay, and the last verse we're going to look at here is verse 17. Gaba li lipka biyaf yeka shi hatha hak math ka al yef atheka al aretz hish lak thika lifne me la came ne thatika lera wa bak. And it reads, he was lifted up, or so his heart, masculine singular, your heart was lifted up. Your heart was haughty in your beauty. I'm sorry, your heart was haughty in your beauty. You perverted your wisdom by reason of beauty. So I will cast you to the earth. I will throw you down to the earth. Still masculine singular. This whole time it's masculine singular. Before kings, before the faces, or to the faces of kings, I will give you, okay, masculine. I will give you masculine singular. I will give, essentially it's saying like, I will give the kings will behold you. Okay, so that last word, bak, at the end is feminine singular. So I just want to illustrate here how his terminology is used interchangeably to reflect the shift in gender. He is masculine, but he is feminine. He is male and he is female. This is very interesting text. Let's look at Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 19. Okay, all that know you among the peoples shall be stunned or desolated at you. Terrors you shall be, and you shall be no more for eternity. That's what it really reads in Hebrew. So here in general, I just want to highlight something. Is that HaSatan is really a cherub who has both male and female qualities. He is a she, he. All right. So what I want to emphasize here is that HaSatan is a she, he, or a he, she. This is what he is. He has both male and female aspects of him. Okay. He is both. He is both a she, he is both a he. Okay. You can call him a female male, you can call him a male female. And what is that the image of? This image of HaSatan being both feminine and masculine, as Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 12 through 19 shows us. It lets us know that the image of HaSatan is the image of the she, he, or he, she, is the image of the homosexual, is the image of the LGBTQ. That is the image. So when you see that in the world, know that you are seeing the image of Satan active and alive today. Know that is what you. So, anyway, I wanted to just emphasize this, that the image of Satan is the image of what you see, what we call homosexuality. And this is a gateway to transhumanism, the merging of humans and robots. This was what will culminate as the mark of the beast, putting the robot in the person and the robot controlling the person. This is what he is working on. This is his image. The image of the she, he, or the image of the he, she is the image of HaSatan. Okay. So understand the severity when people are supporting these things, or people who are bound to these spirits. Okay. The spirit of homosexuality is a masculine spirit, but he's a he, she. Okay. These are he, she's or she, he's. Okay. This is the image of Satan. This is who Satan is. He's the anointed cherub who is both male and female. And I hope now when you see a Baphomet sign, you're not like, it confirms that Baphomet sign. Okay. So I just want to let you know this is who HaSatan is. And with that, I say shalom to you all. Please take this to the Father, pray, meditate on it, understand the severity of what we're getting ready to enter into, because we must continue to bear Yah's image, the image of man, male and female. Okay, distinctly different, distinctly separate, distinctly unique. Okay, we were not created to have both aspects within. Okay, that's why he separated that out. I don't know if HaSatan was a failed project. I don't know. Okay, you can speculate and guess, but this is who HaSatan, as a who was an anointed guardian cherub in the Garden of Eden, who was covered with stones, 10 stones, and had the ministry of music and had the ministry of jewelry work. You know, unfortunately, he got cocky. He tried to set himself up as Elohim. And this is the consequences that we're suffering when he essentially murdered Adam and Eve in the garden by causing them to turn away from Yah. Okay. So with that, I say shalom, shalom, and Shabbat shalom. Shalom.